If you don't change anything, I ask this all the time, what's at stake? What is the risk?
Yeah. I need some sort of objective criteria to these very subjective things.
We cap ourselves because we become the bottleneck.
And you try and you can't, you're hitting the ceiling.
We got to do the work.
Welcome to another episode of Kingdom Entrepreneurs Business Network. Today we're going to talk about coaching and all aspects around, do I get a coach? Do I not get a coach? Like my friend never had a coach in his business and he's successful. So my name is Alex Ankudovic. My co-host is Konstantin Resnick and our guest is Justin Boling. And yes, let's dive into this episode. So I want to share this story, very interesting story, and this kind of sets the stage about what we want to talk about today. So years ago, we have this pattern. So we've known each other for many years.
Yeah.
And we were in youth ministry, and then he went into business, then I went into business, and I remember I would call him, and I'm like, hey, do you have 10 minutes? And we always knew that we didn't talk like often, but when we did talk, it was like a 2-hour phone call conversation.
Yep.
So, and then I'm like, what are you learning nowadays? And he was like, well, I'm reading this book called E-Myth, Entrepreneurial Myth, Why Most Small Businesses Fail and What to Do About It. So I'm like, never heard of it. And he's like, yeah, it's about systems. And also I jump into it. This was like maybe a year and a half, 2 years into my journey of starting a company. I am kind of pushing that level that I need systems. I've hired some people and stuff like that. So I read the book and I'm like, man, this book makes sense. Maybe I can hire a coach. So I did. I hired a coach from E-Myth, and it was a weekly meeting. I think I was paying $1,500 a month at that point, which was a lot of money for a starting business. And we are getting together on our weekly meeting, and he tells me to work on my core values. He has me writing why I started the business, and with every week, I'm growing more frustrated and frustrated. I'm like, what in the world are they? I know I'm following some sort of program, steps in the program. And I'm like, come on, let's get to the point where I get to ask you a question and you're going to tell me what to do with my issue. Don't laugh that hard, okay?
Yeah, hey, I've heard that before.
So I'm like, and don't ask me how I was selecting the coach.
Yeah.
Because that was a completely wrong approach, as we about to find out.
Yeah.
So I'm like, can we work through this? So like I face some challenges in business. No, well, let's work on your core values. I'm like, Then he goes, gave me this exercise. Write down what would you love people to say about you when you die? Like what would be written on your tombstone? We know the tombstone exercise. I didn't know it back then. I see the value in it now. Okay. Anyway, so I'm going through all of this and I'm growing more frustrated and more frustrated. And I remember about 2.5, 3 months into it, I had an issue with an employee. And I thought I knew the answer. I'm like, okay, I'm going to call my coach now. I think I know the answer. If he's not going to give me something similar of that answer, this isn't my test. He can't be the coach anymore. So I called him and I'm asking him a question, and he asks me he asks me a question back to see what I'm thinking. I'm like, hang on a second. Like, I hired you as a coach, right, to help me grow in my business. He's like, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I go, well, no, you have experience in business. I have an issue. I bring an issue to you and you give me guidance, direction on that issue, right? And we move on and I hang up the phone. I am busy, right? And he's asking me questions and I'm like, all right. And I remember he said, hey, my job is to teach you how to fish. And And I go, first of all, I don't like fishing. I am not a fisherman. You should have asked me if I... So I'm like, all right. So you're saying at the end of the day, the results that we're going to have from the coaching is going to be based on the knowledge that I have. The answers to my problems will be based on the knowledge that I have, right? He's like, in a nutshell, yes. I go, okay, we part ways. So that's my first coaching experience.
Yep.
Obviously, you see a lot of holes in it. But this kind of brings us to the point, and I'm sure that probably a bunch of people watching us, listening to us will relate, right? You're in this, maybe you started the business and you're growing, and maybe you've heard a concept, or you see another friend in business that's implementing a lot of things, right? And you try and you can't. You're hitting the ceiling. You're trying to break through the ceiling. Or I recently talked to someone and they're fearful of even hiring their first employee, right? Those are real things. Yeah. So let's start our conversation to talk about that, like about that just mentality, I guess, that entrepreneurs might have in the beginning of their journey. And how do you break through it? Like, talk about you a little bit, what you do, what you offer to entrepreneurs now, and let's just dive into this.
Yeah, I think the first thing I want to say to that is, so I'm a business coach and I have a coach, right? Everybody, like I always think of like Scotty Scheffler, he's the number one golfer in the world. He has 3 coaches, right? So the coaching as an aspect of that is the best of the best have coaches. They are asking how to get better. And that's what I get to do now. So I'm a failed entrepreneur. I'm a former youth pastor, right? Similar there. I remember us talking about that. And in those abilities and in those failures and in those growth opportunities, I had some coaches. I skipped core values. I did all these things because I was learning. I didn't know what to do. I was looking for a solution. I was looking for something. So been a part of 6 or 7 different businesses from ownership and or leadership, and 4 of those are massive train wrecks. They blew up in my face. Oh, wow. About 8 years ago, I joined an ownership and leadership team, and that's where I got introduced to EOS. And so you talked about eMyth, and for me, I was talking to somebody this week, and they're like, "Man, I'm searching for like this solution or this cure or this solve or like this thing that you can't like put your finger on." And I'm like, yeah, that's how it felt. And so read Traction by EOS and was like that. Kind of like you were like, man, this makes so much sense. I was like, it's simple. It would have saved 3 of my 4 businesses. So I went to my ownership team and I was like, team, we got to do this. And they're like, what is it? I don't know. I just read a book. And so we went for it. We figured it out, did the best we could. Grew really fast. About $140 million was our peak.
Oh, wow. In what industry?
In pet space, in the pet space. Cool. So went from about 15-20 million to 140. Went from 11 people to 450 people in about a 3.5-4 year window. Wow. We then sold that organization, and I stayed on about 18 months in a corporate environment. 17 months too long for me, and in that space. And I was looking for what's next, and I kept coming back to what you said in that story. And I was like, I want to help people, and I want to help them with something that I saw as a solution that fixed the way that I was building businesses, that made sense to us and really helped us not just scale, but what I get to do is I get to help business owners get more of what they want out of the business. And then the super exciting part, the passion part is like, and live a better life, right? You can have both of those things at the same time. And I was always struggling one or the other, right? But I found a way to have both of those at the same time. And now that's what I get to do. And I'm a coach. It's stinking amazing.
So let's talk about someone hitting a ceiling.
Yeah.
Right. So reason why I was inclined to hire a coach, because I'm like, someone's going to have to help me break through some of the ceilings. Number 1. Number 2, I wanted to be around someone who knew more than I know. Right. So for example, if someone right now find themselves, their circle of friends is maybe at the same level where they are, right? How do you, and you're facing some ceilings, right? How do you, what's the process in your experience, right, that you've seen if someone's in the beginning of this journey hitting some ceilings, like what would you recommend?
Number one, understand it's normal. And it's going to happen again. If you just break through one, I always tell my clients this at the beginning of the journey, you're hitting that ceiling like you're saying, right? And I use the same visual too. You're hitting that ceiling. What happens, there's three things that happen. One, people break through, but then they hit another ceiling at some point, right? They flatline because of what you're saying, their inability to recognize that they're hitting a ceiling, or their inability to release those things or ask for help or get a coach or say what if, or I don't know, I need some help. And then 50% of businesses, which we all know, fail.
Yeah.
Because of that, right? And so our inability, we cap ourselves because we become the bottleneck. The ones that break through that and break through it consistently and see the growth are the ones that are saying, okay, hey, how do I do this? Have you done this before? Nope. Okay. Have you done this before? Oh, right. And they're learning, they're asking the questions. But the understanding of that is that's a normal process. And what we do as humans is we let it stall us. I saw a post the other day of a guy who runs a highly successful business, don't know him that well. And he goes, every day I get up at like 3:30 in the morning and I do my cold plunge and I do my workout and I give my kids their lunch and then I'm like, okay, that's fantastic. But how long can you really keep a rhythm of, and he was the grind mentality. He's like, yeah, and I'm working, exaggerate 20 hours a day, whatever. How long can you keep that going?
Yeah.
Because that's not sustainable in a human rhythm standpoint. I mean, you can bring scripture in, you can bring all the other things in from a life standpoint, a biblical standpoint. That's not sustainable. That's not a healthy rhythm, right? So I think I then in those I ask, okay, well, what does success look like? Right? What is success then in that business? Is that success? Is he at that point? Because then the other thing then that's starting to happen where I get really curious is what I would call founders fatigue, where people they can grow a business. Let's say it's my business. I can grow it to a certain point. At some point, my time is going to be capped. My network is going to be maxed out. All the sales opportunities from the people that I know are going to be done and washed, and we're going to look for new ones. There's going to be caps on all of those things. So at some point, I have to figure out how to delegate and bring other people in to scale the business, right? And if I've never done that, maybe I've seen it somewhere, but that founder's fatigue then starts to set in, and that's where then businesses, I would say most of them, they seem successful. They're probably flatlining if they're being truly open and honest. Right? Or they're having small incremental growths or changes rather than the big ones that they would want to see.
So you've scaled so fast from the company that you mentioned. How did you, we know that there's certain stages, and once you get to some point of revenue, you hit one ceiling, then you break through it. EOS talks about it. You hit another one. How did you do it?
We hung on to the seat of our pants a little bit, but you go back to the first thing that you said when we sat down here today, core values. One of our core values was fast-paced. So we would even interview people and we would be going, hey, we're a really fast-paced organization, yada, yada, yada. And they'd be like, oh my gosh, that's so cool because they want the job. And then we would lean in and be like, no, Constantine, we are so fast-paced that most people burn out in like 2 months and they can't handle it. And then we go silent. And one of two things would happen. They would either like, cool, that's awesome, we want in on that, or they'd be like terrified, white with fear, right? And we wanted that because we wanted the right people in because we knew exactly that. We knew where we were going. We knew that we were on the precipice of certain things happening from a sales perspective, and we needed the right people in, and we didn't have time to wait, right? And so that was part of who we were as a culture, and so we wanted the right people in there that could support that and help us continue that process.
So have you had any coaches in the process of growing that company?
Oh, we had loads, right? Like from a leadership standpoint, we had outside advisors. We had people that had previously done businesses, a lot of that kind of stuff. We had the EOS tools and process as well. I had a mental coach on my own at the same time, trying to help me manage with the stress and the context and mental strength and stability as we're leading and growing this organization. And we encouraged our teams to really seek that out because we knew we couldn't give it to them. Like if we didn't know how to do it, right? So we wanted to support that internally.
So a few years ago, I was running a construction company, and Alex mentioned that we kept on exchanging experiences, and I would read a book, he would read a book, would recommend things to each other. And I'm struggling with this terrible turnover at the company. We hire people. I think at that time we had 30 employees, something like that. And we would have to fire them in a couple months. It got to a point where some customers, we would send a crew on the job site that would ask them, how long have you been with the company? Because they noticed that there's a constant new faces. And I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And a friend of mine recommends, hey, have you heard this EOS book or EOS system? I'm like, I have no idea what that is. Sounds like some kind of cool letters. So he recommends, hey, look into it. So I buy a book, Traction by Gino Wickman. And I read it. And one thing that really, really stood out to me, and this is what really attracted, is I was struggling in holding my people accountable, not necessarily to their specific work requirements. You could have a great installer, and they're doing everything right, but they're causing issues elsewhere.
Yeah.
They're either not respecting their peers, and it's kind of like these very subjective challenges that we're having with them. And I'm thinking, I need some sort of objective criteria to these very subjective things. So when I read, and I'm reading about core values-based business, the light goes on. And I'm like, wow, I need this. So I meet with my team. We're more of self-implementers.
Yeah, love it. Yeah.
And so maybe can you talk about what EOS system is and why it's been dramatically transformative for your business?
Yeah.
It has, within a year of us implementing, our turnover pretty much stopped.
Awesome.
We were completely core values based system,
Let's go.
environment, the vision, all those different components. Can you talk about the system and why it could be so revolutionary to an entrepreneur?
It is a simple set of practical tools. That is it. There is no magic pills. There's no silver bullets in any of it. It is about 100% alignment on where you're going and how you're going to get there. What is the vision of the team and the organization, and do they see the same thing? And then how do we bring that vision down to the ground and execute on it? We install disciplines and accountabilities, just like you said, to allow the traction, right, to start happening in the business. And then the third thing that we really focus on and build in is the healthy side of that, from the standpoint of creating an open and honest and vulnerable team-based environment. When we're working on those three things across this journey and through the path, what really starts to happen is exactly what you said, right? One of the things that we say all the time in core values with anything is it takes 7 times for any one person to hear something, internalize it, and then choose to be a part of it.
That, by the way, was very life-changing for
Right.
me. Just that I would get so frustrated.
Yep.
I told you 3 times.
Yep.
3 times. And then when I read it, I'm like, oh, I was
You gotta do 4
I was
more.
still short 4
Yes.
more times.
Right. Well, and it's that concept of from the leadership down. People always go, well, we work at the leadership team, because the leadership team needs to embody those core values. They need to align on where they're going. That's why it's so foundational, I would say, to growth and the strength of a business. Because when you can start to do that, everything else starts to follow. When you start to use it the language, the core values, let's say it's fast-paced again, and you call somebody out for, hey, man, thank you so much. That really helped us be fast today, right? And we start to use the language. You're enforcing those core values. You're celebrating those core values. And what starts to happen is those people, just like you experience, they do one of 2 things. They either figure it out and they raise and they meet the bar, or they leave, or then even in your interviews and those things, you're starting to say those things and people go, ooh, they're probably repulsed or they're super excited about it.
Yep.
And that's what you want, because that the whole process and the core values, I skipped in probably 3 of my 4 businesses prior because I was like, I don't have time for this. I got to pay my bills. I got to make money. I get great ideas, but I don't need it. Is so integral to things like that when you start to scale and you start to grow. There's no way we would have grown if we would not have understood who we were, right? Because then you have to be authentically and genuinely those things to those people.
So the reaction that I typically get from people when we start talking about core values especially if they went through some corporate environment.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's like
Yeah.
allergic reaction,
for
right?
sure.
Like, oh my gosh, they made us memorize those things, and you get rewards for, we're integrity, honesty,
Yeah.
service, and all those things, and like people like are naturally repulsed.
Yeah.
Because has the core values conversation been somehow just abused by companies and wrongly implemented? I mean, and it's yet so I found it miraculous when you do it right and your business runs on core values. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, yeah, I think some of the ones that you just said. So, Enron, right? The company who stole billions of dollars from people, all the things. You know what their core values were? Honesty, integrity, communication, right? Like when we start to have cookie cutter, Patrick Lencioni talks about this a lot. Yeah. Like when we start to have those cookie cutter core values, we just become like every other business, right? Like if you're a construction business and you're a construction business, you're still not the same. You may do the same things, but you are different.
Yeah. You have different DNA.
Right. You have different. So be that. Celebrate that, right? Like if you want to have a curse word in it, great. That's not me, but like, okay, great. Like, I don't care. Be you. And really embody those things, and you'll attract the right people, the right kind of clients, and you create this fun culture that then starts to spur on the growth and become its own being, right? Rather than the aspirational things or these other things that we try to be, right? Or we wish or hoped that we were. Just be who you are. Yeah. Be who God created you to be. Be the business that you are. And part of the process, the enjoyable part of US, is we get to exercise and we get to walk through and figure those out. Because they exist. Yeah. We don't always know what they are or can't put our finger on it, but we get to walk through that and they get to really test or realize, oh, yeah, that's who we are. This is cool then. The other way that I talk to teams about this too is two things. One, we're not always there to change the core values. We're there to test and or confirm them. Yeah. Okay. So we walk through the same process, and if the same ones come out, fantastic. But part of my role in those environments, as you were saying, to facilitate, I want to make sure that the ones that you're putting on the wall or that you guys are that those are real, and that you guys are really about them. If you're not, that's one thing. And most of the time, if they haven't, they come out fairly close, like you said. The other thing I always say to what you said is, look at either a past company, a current company, look at a logo, and I guarantee one or two people come to mind, right? I think of my last one, it's Susie, right? Man, if I could add 100 Susies, I would have literally taken over the world. You know what I mean? And so it's like, okay, to your point, what are those attributes? How do we get more people like that, right? Where are they? Who are they? What are they, right? So you can replicate those people, because those are the people that help you spur and grow and scale.
Going back a little bit, when we started talking about the OS is all about systems and, the way you grow the business, right? You have to have systems. Systems will actually manage the processes that you have in your business. What would you encourage someone that's growing the business, maybe someone self-employed, struggling to hire first employee, right, in the beginning, or maybe companies plateauing, like what do you do? How do you, and there's really no systems. Maybe there's not much organization happening, right, as the business is growing.
Yeah. I think you got to start somewhere, right? I had one of my first ever jobs, the owner always said, hey, let's try it. If it doesn't work, we can go back to what wasn't working before. Yeah. Right? That fear of changing or not changing is so stalling and is part of that ceiling thing that we talk about. So the risk is actually not that much. If you don't change anything? I ask this all the time. If you don't change anything in your business, Alex, what's at stake? What is the risk? What are you putting on the table? And then shut up and I listen. Yeah. And oftentimes you're helping people process through, because it feels scarier than it actually is, because we don't know. So we're insecure. We're afraid to ask questions. We're afraid to do those things. So just start. Like, that is hands down the number one thing. From there, start doing what you did, right? You start to read the book. You ask a question. You read the email. Try this one. You try that one. Like, there's multiple different systems or processes or frameworks to build a business. EOS is not the only one. It is the one that worked for me. Mm-hmm. It is the one that I now get to facilitate and teach and coach through. Find one that works. I always equate it to like going to the gym or working out. I don't care if you go to CrossFit. I don't care if you go to yoga. I don't care if you're a runner or a walker, but do something. You need to do something to stay healthy, right? To move forward, and so you can be active as an older person. Same thing in your business. If we don't do something, you become a stagnant business.
Yeah.
You stall yourself by your inability to understand that you're hitting a ceiling or to break through.
All right, Justin, I wanted to ask you about maybe some of the negative experiences you had coaching clients. Have you had situations where you're having your offsite day, annual retreat with, focus day, and you're trying to help them discover core values, but there's such a dysfunction on their team that there's really no common core values that you're like, because Gino Wickman writes that every company has core values. Mm-hmm. Have you discovered companies that maybe don't? Or the owner might have them, but their team doesn't reflect it, and it's like you almost have to restart the executive or management team.
What I would say there is one of two things. I would say the most common thing that I see in that space is an owner comes in and they say, "Hey, here's the core values. Mm-hmm. I already did this." Mm. And then I'm like, "Okay, cool. That's awesome. Do you think those are the core values?" And I start to ask the team, and they if they get really quiet, then I just go back. I'm like, "Well, let's test and see if that's really the core values." And they get really frustrated.
The owner does.
The owner does. But my dad always told me, he grew up in an entrepreneur house. He always goes, people will live where they can build. If I just say, hey, here are the core values to my leadership team. Okay. I either have to choose to like them or not, or like 3 of them and hate 2 of them, or whatever it is. But if I get to speak into them and I get to challenge them and I get to be a part of them in creation, what am I going to do? I'm going to be all about them then, because they're me. And I'm giving part of me to that. So there's a coaching process with often 9 times out of 10 with a visionary in those situations. To your point, if you get to a point and I've had it a couple times where there's so many team dynamics that are happening that the core values may or may not be true. In the process, we actually do core values on the second full day together. Okay, so the first full day together is about hitting the ceiling and the 5 leadership abilities. It is about the accountability chart, taking that big step back. You fire everybody in the room, but you promote them all to the board of advisors. What does this business need? Right? Nobody has a role. Nobody has a job. What does it need? Let's blue sky this. And then you're building the scorecard, the first cut of that. You're building rocks, and you're installing the L10, the meeting pulse. Right? So working through those things and setting that first helps you shake out a little bit where people are at and who's in and who's out. And then working through that. And then you start to build those core values. You can build the core values with some of the wrong people in the room. Okay. I always get this question. Well, we don't have the right people, so we can't start EOS. Okay. So you want to go hire 3 people and then we work through the process and you find out they're the wrong people. Mm-hmm. What do you want? You can do it either way, but that seems really painful to me. Right. Or let's just start. And whoever you have, let's figure out what the core values are. And then it's in those conversations where having that outside facilitator, and multiple visionaries have said this, and they would say, I don't know how long we would have operated under the current structure, the current accountability chart, if we would not have had somebody from EOS or somebody from the outside there to push us and ask those questions and really question and challenge us to say, is Justin the right person for this? Does Justin even want that job? Maybe Justin hates what he does. Yep. And doesn't want to be here.
That's a challenging, even scary maybe question to ask sometimes.
Yeah. But that's one of the things I do really well is I ask really dumb questions that people are afraid to ask. I would venture to say it's one of the only reasons I've ever been successful in business. I want to win.
Yeah.
Not Justin win. I want us to win. So we have to ask those questions. We have to dive into the danger. We have to risk getting hurt or being hurt or hurting someone to a certain extent to get to the root and understand what's really going on. Otherwise, we're just going to put Band-Aids and duct tape and twine on something. we have to push through that. That's part of the role of an EOS implementer in those situations, to sit there and go, oh, Alex, you moved a little funny. Like, what's going on? Talk to me. And pull those things out.
But see, this is like the beauty of someone from the outside, right? Because we hear so many stories where an entrepreneur, let's say, knows that he needs to, or he or she needs to fire a person that's not performing on the team, not pulling their weight, maybe not a good fit anymore, maybe the position outgrew the person, and the entrepreneur is stuck. Doesn't want to deal with the issue, or doesn't know how to, or too much personal connection. This person's been with me, like, and we started the podcast with asking the question. It's like, where does this coaching fit in? Yeah. Sometimes someone from the outside has to really come in and speak some hard truth and ask the dumb question, which in reality, it's like you're looking at it and you're like, yeah, I should have done this long time ago.
Yeah, we want to walk through those processes, but even the most let me say it this way. I have a client, extremely seasoned entrepreneur, sold multiple businesses, grown multiple businesses, is starting a new business, brought me in. I'm an awesome guy, dear friend of mine, and we're doing all this stuff, and I knew from the very beginning that certain person probably wasn't the right person. My role is not to say, hey, Constantine, you need to fire that person. My role is to give the team all the tools, to ask all of the questions, to present everything, to help them understand, ooh, maybe there's not a fit here. Whether you make the decision or not, it is your business.
Talk about this learning curve, or how psychology behind this, right? If someone's self-implementing or learning, right, doesn't have a coach to get a feedback and stuff like that. Talk about that time that it takes for a person to grow. I know EOS talks about
Yeah. So what I would say is there's multiple different ways to implement EOS. And one of the ways, you can read the book and just do your best, right? And maybe go back to the book once or twice. You can self-implement. There's tools online, there's monthly membership, there's videos, there's support, all that kind of stuff through the academy, or you can hire an EOS implementer. The biggest difference in those three things is speed to change. Okay, if I just read the book and I try, okay, what was that? Okay, and I go back to it, that's going to take so much longer. If I just self-implement and I use the tools, that's fantastic, right? But it's like teaching yourself to golf, or teaching yourself to crochet. I'm going to watch a YouTube video. You can do it. Or if you bring somebody in who has done it and who is an expert and is knowledgeable, I would equate it to going to Disneyland or Universal Studios to a theme park, and all of a sudden you get a cut to the front of the line because you have the fast pass, right? You have an implementer in there, you get a cut to the front of the line, right? Your speed to execution increases. It's a cheat code to a certain extent in that. Our ability to do that. The other thing that I would say in there is, with processes like this and tools like this, what we tend to do as humans, you talked about the psychology part, is we do one of two things. Most people are natural to one or the other. EOS helps you build the third one, which I'll tell you in a second. One of them is, think of this as the two circles as you're new, right? And Constantine comes and gives you a big SOP manual. Hey, Alex, here you go. Here's all the things you need to do. See you later. Good luck, right? And you're like, cool. Yeah. I just check in on the book. The other one is Constantine comes in, he hires you, and he goes, boom, and he's on top of you. He's micromanaging. Hey, what about this? What about this? What about this? What about, right? And you're just suffocating. EOS helps you create this rhythm so you as the new person or the team have enough connection to have the conversations that you want to have, right? And then you as an owner have enough conversation and accountability to understand the right things are getting done, right? EOS is creating that rhythm. Call it a system, call it a process, call it a framework. It's creating the rhythm for high accountability and high trust, right? And removing the need from owners or leaders to micromanage, and removing the fear or the need from team members to either ask too many questions or to be too curious or to leave just because they're not getting the support that they need, right? EOS creates that, and that's the psychology of it. We want and need this. Kids need some type of structure. Yeah. They need to know, hey, here's the boundaries, here's the playground, work within this, and then come and go as you need.
So Alex represents the coached implementation. I represent the self-implementation.
Love it.
Of EOS, right? So we have maybe two different perspectives.
I was a
of
self-implementer too, so it's great.
Okay, so maybe, well, now that you're an implementer, you
Yeah,
have both perspectives,
both, yeah.
right? My reason why we self-implemented was we're short on money.
Yeah.
Even though in big scope of things, it's not a big cost. But in the moment,
Yep.
I wasn't sure if I could convince my partners that we need to spend that money.
Yeah.
But the bigger reason for me was I wanted it to be more natural flowing process for our team. And I felt like if we hired a coach, it would be something that it would be kind of like pushed upon the team. I wanted us to have, and it took us a while. It took us a year to really
That's
took us
actually fast.
It took us 6 months to even figure out core values, multiple meetings. We got a stab at it at the annual, and then kind of kept on coming back. What clients, maybe in your experience, or what kind of companies or team environment are better suited for self-implementation versus having a coach, or there is no difference?
I would say that it's ones that are willing to be open and honest and vulnerable. They are, as we said before, they're more afraid of the status quo than they are of change. They're growth oriented. Oftentimes, the owners and or leaders are so bent and focused on growth, right, that they want to move really quickly, right? And so they're like, okay, well, let's try this. Okay, and part of what then we have to do, oh, great, EOS, let's do EOS. Okay, great. Now we have to slow down a little bit.
And we tried it for a month.
Right.
Next,
and they're like, what? But you have to bring those things in. But I would say those are oftentimes the people. The other side of it is what I would say is people that are hurting or struggling or hitting the ceiling and they're about to give up and they don't know what else to do, right? And it feels like this last lifeline sometimes to be like my first EOS client coming out of corporate life and working into this, met him at a faith-based peer group. He was in tears, all this kind of stuff. We're talking through stuff, and he goes, he had been hitting 2.5 million every year for 7 years. And he goes, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. He was so frustrated. He goes, I'm just going to sell it, move on, do something else. And he goes, let's just try it. Within about 6-7 months, they were on track to hit 3.5 just in that process. And he sends me a picture on vacation of a coffee, and he goes, this is the first time that I've been able to go on vacation and didn't have to work, right? And that's where I start to go that's it,
yeah.
right? And so it's one of those two sides of people that really align and fit with it. There's some financial sides, to your point of 2 million or more is normally where they would have the financial resources or something like that to do it, or a certain number of people in the team or the organization. Because if it's one person, it's hard because then you sit in all the seats, right? But those mindset pieces to that are so key and so integral as you start to step into each of the process. Because it's a journey of improving yourself, not just your business, right? It's bigger than just the business processes.
So in the journey of an entrepreneur, someone starts the company, right? We see someone who's successful, right? And we talk to them and they go, yeah, well, I never had a coach, for example, right? But they probably had some sort of mentors. They've learned from someone. They had some sort of experiences that influenced them. They probably learned about some sort of systems that they've self-implemented, right? So, yeah, we see people, we think they're overnight success, right? But then you dig deep and no, they've been learning. They've been putting in effort. What do you tell those people where they're at that level, they're facing something, they don't know how to go to the next level? How do they explore different tools that are available?
I don't tell them anything in my style. I start to become probably more of the pastor in those moments because I see the pain and I see the hurt. I had this 2 weeks ago. I'll try not to cry. That's how deep it is to me. When I'm sitting across from somebody and they're talking through their business and they're talking through the pains and they're like, man, I'm not seeing my family and it's not what I want and this isn't the things. And it's I'm not here to jam anything down your throat. I care about Alex. How is Alex doing? What does Alex need? Maybe this isn't what Alex needs right now, right? Maybe he needs a one-on-one coach. Maybe he needs to go to counseling. Maybe he needs to go to the gym more. I don't know. Caring about the person, to me, is the integral part of any of that. So I don't tell them anything. I hurt for them deeply. So I was sitting across from this couple. Amazing business. They've been doing about 10, 11 years. Kind of hitting the ceiling. They've tried a few things here and there. It's not the first time I've had the conversation with them. And they're just not there. I'm not there to, we have a saying in the U.S., drag them in, drag them around, right? If I pulled you in and I force you into this, then I'm dragging you into every single session and I'm dragging you into your L10s. And that's not what anybody wants. That doesn't help you. Do I see that I have a cure for what's ailing them? Yes. But just like with a drug addict or anybody that's dealing with an addiction, they have to want the help. If they don't want the help, I can beat them over the head with it as much as possible.
It's true.
And it's not going to do anything. So the best thing that I can tell them is just caring for them. How are you, Alex? Man, it looks like you're really hurting. What can I do? Right? And you start to just do that and be a human with them.
Yeah.
And then you get to have the conversation when the time is right. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things that I love. That's an EOS principle of help first. That's one of our core values. It's not about building the biggest Justin business that I can. It's just like we were talking in the hallway. Like, I want to truly help people. And I don't care if that's for 5 minutes or if that's through the EOS journey. I just want to help them. And that's telling them anything. It's more about what do they need than what do I have to tell them.
Yeah, this is the part that really spoke to me. I'm also a pastor as well. And as I had coaches before, and I've had, for short periods of time, buy into different marketing programs and whatnot in other businesses.
Yeah.
But what really attracted me about EOS is it just clicks really well with our Christian ethics.
Yeah.
It's all about caring about people. It's about living out the values. It's not about just having core values on the wall. It's actually, this is who we are. We'll live by this.
Yeah.
It's just about being authentic.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of Christian owners. I mean, our organization, we're all about bringing faith into the business. How can implementing EOS really empower, help? Having said what I said, what has been your experience into living out faith, and then how does EOS help?
It allows business owners and their leadership teams to take control of the business. And by control of the business, I don't just mean you understand the numbers. You have to understand the numbers for sure. But you go back to our core values conversation. You get to define what the culture is. Mm-hmm. There's not laws on what makes your culture, right? The only laws are what you guys are and what the business is. And when you're able to do that and you are able to then agree on what that is, whether you choose to put a Christian fish in your logo or you choose to not, that's up to you. But you get that choice. And you get to decide what the business is about and who the business is, right? And when you start to do those things, you say, yeah, this is who we are. And with these kinds of people, those kinds of people are then attracted to that business. Those that are not about that are probably not going to even apply because they're going to see what you're about. They're going to see what you're doing, right? Just like we talked about at the beginning. And that to me is so, EOS is not a faith-based tool. That's not how it's written. Right. That's not what it's about. There's no scriptural pieces to it in that context. But there's so many to what you said as we went through it, and then now as I'm on the implementer side, that I'm like, man, this is so foundational from it's like I'll overstate this. This isn't any thought out process. It's like a weekly Bible study, the L10, the clarity break. I'm telling business owners to go and pray and journal. Yeah. There's so many things, but if you take a step back, regardless of faith, regardless of what the religion is, regardless of anything, those are human elements to happy and healthy rhythms of life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Is time alone and processing.
And also probably healthy relationships between coworkers.
Yes. Right. And create, that's where people always laugh. It's vision, traction, healthy, like we talked about. People always kind of laugh, oh, the healthy one. Yeah. What do you, is your leadership team healthy? Are you guys open, honest, vulnerable? No. Well, that's why we talk about it then. It's uncomfortable, but to be able to do something that you spend, we all know that data, like 70, 80% of your time with those people, almost probably for more people, more than your family. I want to love those people and enjoy being around them and want to lock arms with them kind of like a family. That seems pretty important to me.
Yeah, it's been eye-opening for, whenever you speak from that perspective to employees. Look, you spend more time with your coworkers than with your wife or your spouse, your children.
Yep.
8, 10, 12 hours a day.
Yep.
That's what you're spending. And it's important to have that healthy environment.
Yep.
And so many people and so many companies have a very toxic environment that people bring that toxicity back home.
Yep.
A lot of times.
Yep.
I would a lot of times tell people at the quarterly state of the company meetings, if you don't like the business, you don't like what you're doing, do yourself and everyone a favor. Go to a business that you would actually like.
Yep.
And it's kind of like you would grow more as an individual. Don't live, if you feel this is a toxic environment, don't stay here.
Yep.
So it's been EOS journey has been amazing as far as just being more humane to people. I even like the 3-strike policy.
Yep.
We used to tolerate things. You don't know how to tell them that, and then it becomes so intolerable. You just call them into the office and say you're fired.
Yeah.
Right. Here's your severance package.
Yep.
Whatever, and it caught so many people by surprise. But I thought I was good. What I found about 3-strike policy is that it gives people opportunity to correct their actions. Can you talk about that a little more?
Yeah. So I was actually walking a team through this week. They had some conversations, some people they were talking through all these kind of things, and I reminded them. I said, "Hey, you guys remember the 3-strike rule? Okay, you have a meeting with Justin, right? He's not hitting the marks, okay? And you come into that meeting with 3 things, 3 data points. Data point number 1, they can excuse the crap out of, right? Make excuse for it. Data point number 2, they can kind of wiggle around and reason with, whatever. But data point number 3, really hard to argue with 3 hard fact data points. And what you're doing in that is you're starting to create that high trust, high accountability system and world. People that want to be held accountable are expecting things like that. And they're expecting to be held to that standard. When we start to do that,
they actually do love that.
They love it, yes, right? And they're seeking it. Yeah. And if they're not getting it somewhere, they leave and go find it somewhere else because they want that, right? And so when we're doing that, we're doing exactly what you said. We're doing a couple things. When I was a pastor for a while, I remember sitting in a budget meeting, and we're sitting there, and the budget was off. It was whack. And I was like, again, I'm really good at asking the dumb, obvious questions. And I was like, it seems like we just need to lay 2 people off to really, that's the only way to balance this in the timeline that we had. And it was like, no, that's not an option. And I remember just being like, how are we, 1, caring for the funds that have been given to the church? And 2, I don't think that's caring for the 2 people, whoever it would be, by keeping them here, right? Like the best thing that we can do in some of those is hold them accountable. And then the best thing sometimes that we can do is like, hey, this isn't the best place for you. I know this is really hard, right? But we're fearful of those conversations. And the 3-strike rule, then you're setting that up for 30 days later, and you're having the same exact meeting. And you're saying, hey, Constantine, we haven't seen the growth that we need to have. You have 30 more days. We're going to do this meeting again. And in that third one, you have to have the same conversation, and you have to be ready to let them go in that moment, right? But you're holding them accountable. 9 times out of 10, what happens is they leave before the third one.
Correct.
And you never have to fire them.
Yes.
It's the easiest way to do it. But you start to hold them accountable, and they either rise to it and they get it right away, or they leave on their own, right? So you're creating, and that's then the culture side. You go back to your core values. Oh, Constantine's actually about those things. Okay. But you tolerate something,
And then the impression the employees walk away with is that our employer's fair.
Yeah.
They don't just randomly fire people.
Yep.
They tell you the expectations. They hold you to those expectations. And it sort of creates a culture of trust.
Yep.
I've actually, after we implemented the system, within maybe 2 years, I started hearing comments from employees. They would stay late to finish the job because one of our core values was commitment to see it through.
Yeah.
We told the client it finishes on Friday, it finishes on Friday. And they would finish late to get it done. And I would hear conversations like, I cannot let Constantine down.
Yeah.
Or other co-owners with several partners. And I thought, wow, I didn't know this is possible in business where your employees watch your back.
Right.
Because they know you got their back.
Right.
You're not going to randomly fire them.
Yep.
You're open and honest with them. You create a culture of trust and vulnerability. And it pays tremendous business
100%.
dividends. Not just ethically and a better environment, but also as far as revenues and profits.
But it is really hard, and it is very, can sometimes be painful to get there.
Yeah.
Depending where your business is at and who you have in the business. I tell people all the time, I said, be careful what you wish for when we do this. Because sometimes this can be the hardest 6 to 12 months of your business life. Right? It completely depends on what's going on in the business. But this challenges everything. Right? People want that. But they want it overnight.
Yeah.
They don't. Man, I want to be fit and I want to be strong and whatever. I don't want to go to the gym. Like, isn't there like a self-help book that I can read or a podcast? You know what I mean? Or some pills I can take that give me that. Like, we got to do the work. Like, to your point earlier, none of those businesses happen. Like, we grew in 3.5 years. But all the work that happened prior to that, of all the people that we brought in and all the experience that was in the room to help us do that, set us up for that. How many failures that were across that team and blow-ups, and even in the process. It wasn't perfect. But that our ability to do that, going back to some of the other questions of, that's the kind of thing that people want, and US helps people get there in a streamlined and simple way, but not everybody wants it.
And a lot of times you start implementing different systems in the business, and it brings you to you face another bottleneck, right? And all of a sudden you realize, okay, now we've been doing this, now we have to shift.
Yep.
We recently just had a conversation with an entrepreneur, very successful entrepreneur, and in his industry is very interesting, but he has built a very successful company without having any KPIs.
Wow.
He didn't need to,
because
he was driving the business forward. It wasn't the system that was driving the business forward so much, right? He was driving the force.
He had lots of systems, but he was the driving force behind
Yes,
all of it.
yes.
Yep.
So he was the driving force, and now if he wants to go to the next level, he needs to step back and let systems drive the people that bring results. So it's, depends on the person, and you talked about it, and it's so important to see like that this personal growth also needs to happen, right? It's not just you implement something in your business. You personally need to grow, and sometimes business will push you to grow as well.
Yeah, we tell the story in the US to dictate that a lot. It's in the traction book as well, but entrepreneur's on a hike, falls off a cliff, 1,000 feet down, right? Grabs onto the vine, right? Miraculously grabs on it. It's 1,000 feet down, it's 1,000 feet up. He's looking, he's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And he looks up to the heavens in a moment of faith, or whatever you want to call it, and he goes, is there anybody up there? And a voice billows down, do you believe? And he looks down at like death, and he looks back up, and he goes, I guess? And the voice goes, let go of the vine. And he looks back down at death, and he looks back up, and he goes, is there anybody else up there? Right? To go to show and prove, like, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to let go of our baby that we put all this time and effort into. It's difficult to trust Alex to do X, Y, or Z when I built it and I know exactly how to do it. He's not going to do it the same way that I do. I'm going to hand to my clients. How's he going to take care of it? They become my friends, like all these things, but you're never going to get to those next levels. You're never going to get to the space where you want to have more time or go on a vacation or do these other things until we can start to let go of the vine in certain aspects.
Justin, at the end of this conversation, if someone is really like struggling, right, needs a breakthrough, what do you say? Like someone really, maybe in a tough situation in the business, what would you say to that person?
Breathe. What you're feeling is normal, and don't give up on yourself. I think so quickly we can spiral into doubt or shame or what if. There's a book, Gap in the Gain, right? And
Amazing book.
if we want to be in a certain stage or place, we always compare ourselves to this.
Yeah.
Well, but when we're really here, right? But when we start to, I did this last night. I was almost in tears last night, growing my business, doing all these things, having all these things. And I looked at my wife and I said, I don't know how to turn off the desire to continue to grow and to continue to work and to enjoy where we are. And I went back and I just looked at the numbers, the facts.
Yeah.
And I was like, it gave peace to the extent of like, man, this is where I'm at. Look where I was.
Yes.
Right? And look where we're going. Rather than, man, I want to be here and I'm not there. Right? And I think that's where I think you go back to a coach, having that outside perspective. And this is where I say I'm oftentimes a therapist or a pastor. Like, call somebody, call me, like, hey, this is what I'm feeling. And that vulnerability allows you then to refocus and realign and get back to those spaces, because all of those things are normal. And if you're seeing somebody and their life looks perfect and their business looks perfect, I guarantee you they're feeling the same things.
You said something very important, to open up.
Yeah.
Right? If you're facing something and you're like,
yeah, please.
That's probably the first step of a breakthrough, right? Getting out of this gap in the gain, what you've mentioned, opening up. I've definitely had those type of moments where I'm like, you know what? If I'm not going to be vulnerable with someone who can actually pray with me and just listen, that release needs to happen.
Yep.
So, so I just pray right now that if you are facing a challenging situation, maybe you don't have anyone around you to even help you through what you're going through. Maybe your situation is just going to the next level, or maybe you're facing challenges in your team, you're facing challenges at home, right? Maybe business brought so much challenge that your relationship at home, finances may be tight, maybe partnership is failing, or whatever it might be, and you're facing this pressure and you don't know what to do. I want to pray for you right now, but I would encourage you, find someone that you can be just open and honest and vulnerable with, right? And pray through those things. Find someone, maybe an entrepreneur in your church that's been through those things, right? Find someone, have some sort of a community, someone that can put their hand around you and just be there with you. Don't be alone, for sure. So Heavenly Father, right now I pray for those people that need community, that need someone that they can talk to, that can speak life into them, Lord, that can inspire them, that there's an answer from you, Lord, that you can give guidance. Sometimes we're in a challenging situation and it's an opportunity in disguise and we just don't know it. Lord, sometimes the opportunity is something that we needed to push us to the next level. Certainly, I've been there, Lord. You've brought so many different situations in my life that I thought it's the end of the world. It's a crisis, but that crisis was an opportunity, Lord, to propel me to where you were moving me, where I needed to go, where my next season was, Lord. So I pray right now that you will strengthen those that are watching, Lord, that you help people not to give up, Lord, that you guide them to the people that can help them, that could just stand besides them, Lord, and help them to go to the next level. Help them reach the next season, Lord. And I pray that you bless those that are doing amazing things in business, Lord, and you've been doing great things in them. Lord, I pray that you take them to the next level. Lord, that you bless them even more so they would be blessing to your kingdom. And I pray that in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah, thank you so much for being with us. If you are looking for what are the next events that Kingdom Entrepreneurs are doing, visit us at KEBN.org and you'll find all of the information. Justin, thank you so much. It's just a privilege for us to have this conversation with you, and it's just amazing to see what God is doing through you.
Likewise, gentlemen. Likewise. Blessed to be here.